It might be over for parts of Florida. The Florida real estate market is having a lot of trouble. Let's check it out.
Rates are on the rise across the country, particularly here in Florida. According to real estate experts, the Sunshine State leads the U.S. Lenders in Florida started the foreclosure process on 1 in every 1,800 homes last month. And Tampa has seen the highest rate in the country. Fox 13's Aaron Mesmer shows us what experts think is driving these higher than normal numbers.
From 2020 to about 2023, home prices soared across Tampa Bay. Some families who bought their homes back then are now facing a harsh reality.
They would have to sell at essentially the same price they bought for because there has been a declining market. So they would need to bring roughly $10,000 to the closing table in order to avoid a short sale.
St. Pete realtor Mia Annabelle with Smith & Associates explained what can happen next.
By the time we get that net sheet, they're negative. They can't sell, they can't afford the property.
And that can lead to foreclosure. Florida saw more foreclosures than any other state in October, according to Adam Data, a real estate analytics company. Tampa had the highest rate of all major cities, with 1 in every 1,373 housing units in foreclosure. Experts point to skyrocketing property taxes and insurance costs as major factors, but that's just the beginning.
It's really all prices and all costs associated with housing, whether it's HOA, whether it's interest on mortgage payments, whether it's interest payments. All of those costs are going up.
On top of that, daily expenses are up too. USF economist Michael Snipes says those added costs are often a big problem for retirees on a fixed income.
It's a huge investment. It's a huge source of spending for a lot of individuals. It's a huge part of their income. So any small change is going to be felt particularly acutely by individuals who might not have a whole lot of money.
Realtors say the best advice for families worried about foreclosure:
have the conversation sooner than later. It's not going to go away. Sometimes we get called in and it's to a point where the bank has already started the process, and that gets very tricky.
In other words, don't wait until it's too late. In Tampa, Aaron Mesmer, Fox 13 News.
Here's the thing. This is what happens when you buy the rate instead of the numbers on the HUD. I've been telling people for a long time, you make money in real estate when you buy the property, what you pay for the property. That is never on people's minds. What am I actually paying for this property? In the stock market, it is a well-known saying, buy the dip. But people don't buy the dip in real estate. People buy the mortgage rate. You can change that mortgage rate. That mortgage rate can be changed at any time. But what you cannot change is what you paid for the home. People really miss that principle. What you pay is what matters. So during the pandemic, a lot of people were buying at the top of the market. It's almost like buying the S&P 500 or Bitcoin at the top of the market. It sometimes just doesn't make sense because as soon as it dips, now you're underwater. Now with Florida, what you have is rising property taxes, right? Because in Florida, you don't have income taxes, so the money has to come from somewhere. So you have rising property taxes. You have rising HOAs, and property taxes and HOAs change your mortgage. They raise your mortgage up. Very rarely do those expenses come down, unfortunately. And that's one of the reasons why I tell people, look at the numbers of what you're paying, right? And when you purchase a home, you can get the seller to pay some of the costs, especially in what we call a correction, which is what we're going through now, where you don't have as many buyers, or where you have in some markets more sellers than buyers. You can pretty much, take advantage of these opportunities. Get the seller to pay closing costs. Submit an offer that is lower than list price or lower than what the home would appraise for. That will put you in the best position. But people are so focused on 2.5% mortgage, 3%. People are highly controlled by these interest rates. If the interest rates, the Federal Reserve would have bring interest rates to zero, and if the bond market responded correctly to the economy, and you saw mortgage rates drop again, people would go out and make this same mistake all over again just because they are focused on the short term, what that payment is, versus what they are actually paying for the home. But not everybody is an investor, so I digress.
Last year in South Florida, if you were looking to buy a home, there was very little supply, but lots of demand. Sellers making massive profits off their homes in a short time frame. But today, we're seeing a new trend of sellers taking their homes off the market. And South Florida has the highest rate in the nation. According to Realtor.com, in the month of July for the Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach metro, for every 100 homes posted for sale, 59 of them were removed. And the listings weren't posted for a short time. In the Tri-County area, the average listing spent 88 days on the market, the longest amount of time compared to any other top metro. But we compare that to the national average. For every 100 homes, only 21 are taken off, and the average listing time was 58 days. Now, real estate experts like Brian Garita say that there are two major reasons as to why there are more sellers than buyers in today's market. The first is the cost of ownership, like the cost of insurance premiums and property taxes has risen.
And now sellers are at the point right now where they're saying, hey, does it make sense for me to own this property? Let me sell it and try to get the most that I can. And then the other thing is you're just seeing greed, right? You're seeing people that they purchased their home 5-6 years ago. They may have bought it for $300,000-$400,000 and they think that they're going to get $1 million.
And that's what the Realtor report indicated. Less than 18% of homes have a reduction in price, suggesting that sellers would rather wait it out than sell.
These prices that we're seeing are a product of what happened during the COVID pandemic and with the rush of people coming down here, purchasing homes or relocating. But since we've already had some time after the pandemic, a lot of people who came from New York or other parts of the country who were working here remotely have now had to go back to their home state and go back to their jobs. But the issue is the prices really haven't accommodated. So a lot of these owners that have their homes at these high prices, they see no reason to drop it.
So what does this mean for you? Garita says, number one, if you're looking for a place to live, you should consider the rental market as it's sometimes more affordable and you can negotiate price. Number two, if you want to buy a home, look at how long it's been listed. If it's anywhere between 4 to 6 months, Garita says there may be a reason.
At the end of the day, you don't know what's going on. There could be a death in the family. They need to relocate. They need a bigger home. And at that point, they may be more open to adjusting their price and making a deal.
Which brings us to number three. Don't be afraid to negotiate. Garita says if you have a price in mind, don't overspend and put in the offer you want. Sophia Hernandez, NBC6 News.
Thank you. Thank you. This is what I just said. Literally submit, the offer that you want to pay for the house. Like my wife even been looking at stuff in Florida. So let's go buy a house in Florida because, we're not financing. We could just submit low offers, quick closings, and see what happens. See if somebody takes it. And this is just one of those markets. And like I said, the average buyer doesn't know this. They only care about the mortgage rate. That mortgage rate can change, but once you sign for that at that closing, what you paid for the home does not change. And like they said, if there's a death in the family, you got to move to the state to go to work. It becomes almost difficult to sell the property because you'll end up underwater or in a short sale. And you do not want that short sale smoke. You don't want to burn the bank because then in the future, it'll be hard for you to buy a house again because of that. Okay. So all in all, you got to be smart. Stop focusing on just the rate. How much are you paying for the home? Are you getting $50,000 discount and having the seller pay the closing costs? Are you getting $100,000 discount and paying your own closing costs? Like, you got to work the numbers and figure out what works best for you. And then that mortgage rate can change later. Like you have people now that have a 7%, but they were able to get a $75,000 discount on the property, 80, 100, 150. And then they can, refinance later into a lower mortgage rate. And if they have to sell, they have that room to be able to get rid of the property. And this is just, a small piece of game that anybody can use. Don't wait until everybody goes out to buy a home. It'd be a lot better being a seller to sell to everybody that's out trying to buy homes at the same time, like we saw during the pandemic. And that's just real.